Hi, El. Thank you for joining me once again. And El, so what are the five top takeaways that you see? How would you analyze this?
Oh, right now, I think definitely we wouldn't be focusing that much on the NDPP and the PJP this time because I think the results and the verdict of the electorate in regard to whether this coalition stays has already been announced through the votes that is coming in. So we'll not focus on that right now. Later on, more on that. But some of the top takeaways this time, of course, is that for the first time in the history of Nagaland, we have two women legislators. That is, first thing we have Hekani Jakalu from Dimapur 3, and we have Salhau Tunyo Kruse. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, madam. Salhau Tunyo Kruse from Western Angami 8. And it's very interesting that over the course of the discourse of women empowerment in Nagaland, the discourse had always revolved around the idea of why there are no women in Nagaland sitting in the Legislative Assembly or even in the urban local bodies. And this has constantly been taking a lot of media space because to the world outside, this is an indication that Nagaland and the Naga communities in Nagaland have not moved past its cultural capital that used to be those days, and they have not moved beyond what they call the patriarchal system. So these elections to the 14th Nagaland Legislative Assembly is tremendous, and I think nothing much would matter whether the BJP or the NTPP will lose, because I think the first takeaway, people across India will remember that the 14 NLA elections were the first time that Nagaland got not one, but two female candidates who won to sit in the Legislative Assembly. That's the first takeaway. Second takeaway, Naomi, I think this is something we have been discussing even in the newsroom too. Of course, the NTBB is there, the BJP is there, and these are the major parties that have always carried the mandate of voice in the Legislative Assembly, be it in policy making, be it in politicking among the parties. So they've always been the center of attention, but this time it is going to be a very different kind of government for this particular reason. Small parties, regional parties and national parties, parties whose name we didn't even know existed before the state polls were announced. For instance, we have the latest numbers here from the Election Commission as we go on air right now. At this time when we're talking, the Lok Jan Shakti Party Ramvilas had won. They had one seat. Naga People's Front, they had one, but again, we'll talk about it later on. And there is another National People's Party with 4 candidates. Who would have thought that the NPP of all the parties in India and Nagaland would capture not 1, not 2, but 4 seats? That is something we will remember for a long time. And then there is another. Honestly, I've never heard of the Republican Party of India. My apologies. I've never heard of it in my 20 years of journalism. I thought they were a small community political platform for rural people. I didn't know they were actually a political party. So now, this is the surprise of all the people, all the parties in India. They've won 2 seats. So now, again, previously we had about 3 independents who took the 2018 Nagaland Legislative Assembly elections. And this time too, they have come out in force. I think 19 of them contested in the 14 Assembly elections for Nagaland. And out of the 19, 4 have won. 4 are declared to have won the election this time. These are the latest figures. So the second takeaway is that this time, whether the NDPP and BJP or NPF or Congress, anyone, no matter what, whoever forms the government, this time the kingmakers will be the small parties and the independents, of course. And third, yes, I think I will refer to our previous news reports and the bulletins that we've been doing, Naomi.
Yes.
This is the first time we are seeing a level of violence to the extent that we saw during the previous 2 weeks. And I'm actually expecting that the Legislative Assembly would later on in the next elections come up with a regulatory mechanism where they would instate control agencies to control police and security personnel from engaging in electoral activities. If you remember, we had a long list of police personnel from Nagaland police who were vetted allegedly for helping in the campaign activities of candidates. That is first. Second is the whole idea of stone pelting. We used to read about this in Kashmir mostly, and the government actually instated legislations to stop this because it is something that we don't really think about. We see it as an activity of violence during elections only, but these have the character and the traits of turning into something that will be uncontrollable later. Stone pelting and engagement of police personnel in the election activities of candidates. So those are the three main takeaways, and I would like to add one. We have had Chief Minister Nefirio for 3 straight terms, and this will be his second term as a legislator. And I think word on the street in the run-up to the elections was that people were tired of one person holding the post for too long, Nami. You know, and I think this conversation is very, very active even right now. WhatsApp, you know, community conversations in the kitchen and talks on the street. And I talked to someone on the way just a while ago, a shopkeeper, and this guy said, "And if you be balaze hole olop deri olop bishi bohije chief minister dusra ke dile bhi ko nohoy, you know." So those are the kind of conversations that we are hearing from the community. So this election proves that street word and street conversations and community conversations do not necessarily indicate the sentiments of the people, because one day you are saying something about a government or a political candidate, the other day you have already elected them. So you don't know how the elections will turn out. You don't know what the sentiments of the people are. So the fourth takeaway I would add here is that don't listen to people on the streets, because whether you like it or not, once a candidate is elected and his party forms a majority legislative party to form the government, then I think our conversations won't matter that much. Back to you, Nami.
All right, El. And yes, El. How many precincts have reported their results so far? Do we have any update on that as well?
Oh, from Meghalaya or Nagaland, Nami?
From Nagaland, yes.
Nagaland, I think this is, even as we were talking a few minutes ago, the numbers from the Election Commission's website in regard to who won or lost were being updated. In fact, I think the numbers might have changed even as we were talking. This one I printed out just 5 or 6 minutes ago, so it might have changed, but even as we were talking, these were the numbers. So far, a total of 37 seats have been declared in Nagaland that the counting have stopped, and 37 candidates have won. So these are the numbers. In case some of you are interested in knowing what the latest results are. The BJP has won 9 seats, Independents 4 seats. Janata Dal United, unfortunately, despite all the optimism that had been going on in the run-up to the election, so far we have not received any confirmation of any seats being won by the JDU. And then, of course, we have this surprise entry, the Lok Jan Shakti Party, Ram Vilas faction, 1 seat. The LJP has won 1 seat. And Naga People's Front, 1 seat. I would like to add something here, Nami. I think the NPF seems to be going through a moment of tension and anxiety here. Initially, there were reports that the NPF legislator Azonina had won the PEC constituency seat. And while we were going through the commission's results website, we did not see his name. And for 2-3 hours, there was only this number 00 NPF, 00 NPF. So we got reports earlier that Azonina had won his seat, so that would account for 1. Now, this is the surprise. National People's Party. They have won 4 seats. And I think it's a great day for this party because just 2-3 years ago, and certainly 2 terms ago, they were practically an unknown party. We only knew about the NPP only because of someone called Konrad Sangma in Meghalaya. He is very popular with the youth, so we came to know through him. Otherwise, in Nagaland, I think this would be a very new party. NPP, they have won 4. And then Nationalist Congress Party, NCP, they have got 2 seats. How surprising is that, Naomi? I like these surprises. And of course, the NDPP has won 14, and the Republican Party of India 2.
All right, Al, and the results, some of the results have not been declared yet as of now, but what have been the most surprising results so far?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of things, of course, like we spoke before, small parties, regional and national parties who were previously unknown to us. They have started to make inroads into the politics of Nagaland. That was surprising, yes, but I think definitely I would say that for a state that had been constantly in conflict with the government, especially from the side of the community in regard to women empowerment, and how violence had been part of the whole narrative of promoting women in places of policy making. So the biggest surprise here is that we have elected Hekani Jakalu, yes, and then the Western Angami candidate Selhautunyo Crusade. So it's a very surprising thing. It's a good surprise, actually. It's a surprising thing for all of us that the Nagas suddenly decided that, hey, I think we have to break this chain of empathy, the apathy that we have been showing to the women folk in Nagaland, and they decided that, hey, this time we are sending 2 female candidates to the Legislative Assembly, and this indicates that we are slowly moving into a public space where the narrative of policy and welfare is not decided by needs and requirements of systems created by men. So it is definitely a progress, a huge progress. In fact, maybe we would really, gladly be surprised by 1 female candidate winning, but 2 is definitely a bonus. So I think this is the biggest surprise and takeaway for the 14 NLA Assembly elections, Naomi.
And right now we also have a breaking news coming in that is from Ghaspani 1, where Zhimomi from the BJP party has won a total number of votes that is 31,400, and he wins by a margin of 2,096 votes. So this is the latest breaking news as of now from Ghaspani 1, BJP party Zhimomi. The candidate has won by a margin of 2,096 votes, and total vote he secured 20,096, sorry, and he won. The total number of votes he won was is 31,400, and he won by 20,096 votes, which is a history. The maximum number of votes won as of now. And also thank you, Al. And Al, the next question I want to ask was, do you believe that people have endorsed the roadmap of NDPP and BJP development model this time?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, because the results itself say so. There is no denying that this is, of course, out of 2.25 million people in Nagaland, we cannot expect every one of them to have an opinion in regard to what might be what might be the best for the people of Nagaland or the state, whether it is in infrastructure, whether it could be in health, it could be in women empowerment, it could be in forest management, water supply, roads. Here, the idea of mandate is not necessarily decided, unfortunately, even in democratic societies. It's not decided by whether you like the policy of someone or not, just because your village hates it, just because your constituency hates a particular government. It is decided by the collective choice that is represented in the votes of the people. So, yes, you are right. I think I would agree with you that the people have just chosen the NDPP and the BJP's model of development that they are promising for the next 5 years to. Yeah, if you were just mentioning the BJP candidate Jacob Zhimomi winning by historic margin, and that itself says so. This will be his third term for Ghaspani 1, and when he brought the status of district to new land, the idea was not necessarily to tell them that you have been given a legislative tool so that you can call yourself a district and take some kind of a political pride in it. I think the whole idea that she brought the status of district to new land was that they would use that as a stepping stone to build the development narrative. Because when you are a district, it means you have a separate fund of your own, you have your own MLA, and maybe 2 or 3 MLAs will be there in the next 10 years now, because it's a district now. So the whole idea of the people giving the mandate to the government is not for the person or even for the party. If you look at some of the voting behaviors that we have seen during the past 15 years, it is all about the development manifesto and the objectives that the party represents, which the people have approved.
All right, Al, I think I'll just hold you there for some time. We also have in our conversation Akivido, our reporter Akivido, who is at DC Chumukirima. Al, I'll just get to you after some time. I'll just take in Akivido for now. So, hi Aki, can you hear me?
Hi, now, yes, I can hear you.
Okay, hi Aki, so what's the latest you've got?
Okay, so the latest that we've received from Ghaspani 1 Assembly constituency, the district administration just declared the 11th round of counting results, in which the Bharatiya Janata Party's candidate Jacob Zhimomi's vote has increased to about 31,533. The Indian National Congress candidate has now gone up to 4,458 votes. The NPF has secured 254 votes. The JDU has secured 8,116 votes. The independent candidate Pushkaomi is in second place with 11,889, and the Nota votes are at 261. Well, the counting is still going on, but I think the results is officially declared. I think in this 2023 general elections that was held in Nagaland, I think Ghaspani 1 candidate, Ghaspani 1 BJP candidate Jacob Zhimomi has beat his record of voters margin. Well, in the previous election, his margin was about 2,559, but he's doubled that figure. He's 10 times doubled the figure to about 20,000 votes, vote margin, and his voting share has gone up to a maximum. I mean, like, if you look at the data that has been given by the administration, if you just look at the figures there, he's at number one with 31,533, and the second candidate is nowhere close. I mean, the independent candidate has got 11,889 votes. So you can just see the huge difference between the vote between the first candidate and the candidate that's come second, which means that the electors of Ghaspani 1 Assembly constituency have clearly given their mandate to the intending BJP candidate Jacob Zhimomi, and he will be representing the Ghaspani 1 Assembly constituency in the Nagaland Legislative Assembly for the next 5 years too. Well, coming back to Ghaspani 2, well, it's reached round 9, and in which basically the results have been declared, where in Ghaspani 2 Assembly constituency, sitting MLA NDPP legislator Jalio Rio will retain his seat, and the Ghaspani 2 people have again decided to send him back to the Nagaland Legislative Assembly as their MLA, and also he will be representing this particular constituency, which is Ghaspani 2, for the next 5 years for the people of Ghaspani 2 Assembly constituency. Well, he's even the margin in Jalio Rio's victory is also somewhat like what he had received in 2018. In 2018, he had won the elections with a vote margin of about 4,400 figures, but yeah, 4,400 plus figure. And this time too, it's roughly closely about 4,500 to 5,000 votes. So he's still kept his career intact and his voting share is intact. As you can see, the RPI candidate Kashto Yeptomi of the Republican Party of India, he has secured 7,165 votes, and the LGP candidate Kito Rotoka has secured 5,756, and the nota or none of the above votes has been casted to about 110 for Ghaspani 2 Assembly constituency. Well, in Ghaspani 1 Assembly constituency, the nota is 261, and kind of figures, because if you look at NPF candidate, he's secured 254 votes and the nota is 261. So I think the nota is in fourth place in Ghaspani 1 Assembly constituency. But yes, for Ghaspani 1, it's a historic win for BJP's Jacob Zhimomi, winning by a margin of more than 20,000. I think this victory margin would be the largest in Nagaland, and also being the largest constituency, this legislator has got the largest margin, so he keeps his seat intact, and he will be going to the NLA again this time around and representing Ghaspani 1 for the next 5 years. Back to Ghaspani 2, well, it's NDPP's victory in Ghaspani 2 Assembly constituency, with sitting MLA Jalio Rio securing about 11,293 votes up to round 9 of counting. Then the RPI's got 7,165, the LGP's got 5,756, and the nota is at 110. So basically we're just waiting for the final round of counting, after which the official results will be declared by the district administration. But yes, it's been a grueling day. The counting started from 8 a.m. and it's been going on successfully. There is no law and order situation at the moment. It's been largely peaceful. The security personnel are still manned here and there's heavy presence, but we have come to the concluding stages of the counting period. So very shortly, the district administration also will call off the counting and will very soon declare the results in these two particular assembly constituencies, namely Ghaspani 1 and Ghaspani 2 assembly constituency. Back to you, Naomi.
Okay, Aki, and also how have the results of the vote count so far been, received by the local community there?
As when Hornbill TV spoke to some of the BJP supporters here who are stationed here, they have not left as of yet. When we spoke to them, they were very positive. They were very confident of winning by a huge margin. Well, one of the GBs who spoke to us had initially told that right now the margin is a little too low. maybe the margin is going to cross the 15,000 mark. Well, he was spot on, as if you look at the figures and if you tally it, Jacob Zhimomi's margin is about 20,000 plus. So it's a clear mandate from the electors of Ghaspani 1 Assembly constituency that Jacob Zhimomi is the right leader. And as the GB himself too said, that he's a young, dynamic and energetic leader, and he has the potential and he can take the Ghaspani 1 Assembly constituency forward in terms of development, in terms of creating employment opportunities for the youth, creating industries, concentrating on these MSMEs, medium, small and micro enterprises, especially for us Nagas, which is very important. Lack of industry is really killing the option of employment, but if the concentration is on MSMEs, then more employment opportunities will be generated. And also, when I asked the GBs about when they supported Jacob Zhimomi, their candidate, whether he would be able to fulfill the aspirations of 3 districts, as Ghaspani 1 with the creation of new districts. There are 3 districts that fall under Ghaspani 1, Newland, Chumu and Dimapur. So the supporters are confident enough that he's the right man to lead the Ghaspani 1 Assembly constituency, and that through him, the Ghaspani 1 Assembly constituency is going to witness rapid development. So the mandate is clear. I think the choice is even clearer, and the supporters are confident, have always been confident, and I think the tally just says a lot. I mean, looking at the competition, so they've been received well, and they hope that this leader will take this constituency forward for the next 5 years.
All right, Agi, thank you so much for the updates. And yes, viewers, like we heard from our reporter just now, that we see on the screen where from Ghaspani 1, where Jacob Zhimomi from the BJP party has won with a huge margin of 20,096 votes. And again, I'd like to take in our senior news analyst Al Nguli in the newsroom. So Al, how do you see this margin of Jacob from the BJP party's win?
Yeah, definitely. I think even from the word go, Ghaspani 1 was very much assured who would be going to the NLA as their representative. He has been there for 2 terms. And definitely, since the change in the status of the district, now we know as Newland, I think the optimism was heightened even more, because the very idea of the community there having their own district, having their own administrative apparatus, also meant that this was not just a status that any government can just bring in. It also shows the influence that Mr. Zhimomi had on the community and the government. That is why you are able to bring in legislative tools to actually influence the action of the government, Nagaland government, to give something as precious as and coveted as the status of a district for Newland. So this is not just about a person being an MLA and engaging in the tools of his trade to just bring in administrative status to a community. It also shows the influence and the clout that he has. That is why he was able to achieve that. So clearly, when you are the only candidate running a margin of more than 20 from your nearest political opponent, then I think it is a very, just like Aki said, it's a very clear mandate for Mr. Jacob Zhimomi, and that the mandate means that the community that elected him twice previously also want him to engage in the same development activities that he undertook, and to take the narrative of development further for the 3rd time for the community there.
Al, also, do you believe that the double engine formula will work? The government in the center and government in the state in Nagaland.
Oh yeah, as much as I I like the idea of development and welfare development also, not just development in terms of power, electricity, and roads and drains. I think the whole idea of development that we sometimes miss out on is the idea of welfare development here. As much as I love that idea, I think the concept of single engine, double engine, triple engine development ideas are still something that we need to wait for, because these are all political rhetoric for now. We have to see to believe it first, because once you have made a choice in regard to who your representative should be and who are sitting in an NLA, Legislative Assembly, then you have already made a choice for what they promised to you. So if they bring in single engine or double engine, whatever engine, as long as you meet the aspirations of a community, especially in regard not only to development but their welfare, well-being, then I think it is very easy to, start being cynical when it comes to political parties and their candidates. So we'll have to wait for a while and see, and let's hope NDPP and the BJP alliance and whoever comes to form the government would deliver for the people like they promised, Naomi.
Well, and not just Nagaland, but even Meghalaya and Tripura vote counting is also on. So do we have any update from the state of Meghalaya and Tripura?
Yeah, I think our channel has been very busy with the polls in Nagaland this time, and somehow some of us forgot that there are also assembly elections going on in Tripura and Meghalaya. I don't have much details about Tripura, but right now, even as we talk, the NPP was leading in Meghalaya with about 25 seats won so far. And for now, the PJP, I think they are leading in about 3 seats. They won about 3 seats and leading in about 5 or so. So basically, it's a contest between the TMC and the NPP. The TMC were leading in 11 seats while we were talking, and there were smaller parties that were leading in 2 or 3 seats. We will have to wait till the vote count is concluded. So, but for now, according to what the results say and what the progress is, the NPP and TMC are leading the results in Meghalaya, Nami.
All right, Del. Lastly, do we have any latest trend from the ECI in Nagaland?
I think we'll have to wait. Our viewers will have to wait for the next bulletin for us to get in touch with the ECI and see the total results. Right now, as we spoke earlier, it's just where it stands: 14 for NDPP and 9 for PJP. And smaller parties, I think they will just stick to the 9-seat margin that they have won: LJB, the NPP, and of course independents. So about 9 seats in between them. We'll have to wait for a while.
All right, Del. Thank you so much for the updates.
Thank you, Naomi.